Tomatoes are actually part of the nightshade plant. There are over 7,500 different varieties. They are divided into several specific categories. These include globe tomatoes or slicing tomatoes. These ones are best used fresh. Beefsteak tomatoes. These have a short shelf life and again should be used fresh. Plum tomatoes. These are fresh but best suited for sauces or tomato paste. Cherry tomatoes. These are small and sweet and round. These should really be used in salads. Grade tomatoes. These are oblong shaped, similar to plum varieties. And Campari tomatoes. These are small, juicy and have a high sugar level, but low acidity. These are sized between plum and cherry tomatoes. Tomatoes are classified into distinct types, how these grow and how long they take to produce fruit. A. Determinate tomato plants. These need large areas to grow. These tomatoes are the most common and grow in the form of bushes. Each bush grows to around 5 or 4 foot in height. They produce tomatoes once for a limited period. From that point on, they only produce flowers. They grow easily and require no trimming and yield many fruits. B. Indeterminate tomato plants. These need less space to grow. These are called vining tomatoes. They are harder to grow, but with the benefit they continue to produce fruit during the season and for year after year. They can reach as high as 10 foot, but generally grow to between 6 or 7 foot. They are vulnerable to frost, which can kill the plants. Tomatoes can also be classified depending on their genetic makeup. Heirloom and hybrid tomatoes. Heirloom is sometimes called heritage, and these have been around for centuries. There's no crossbreeding taking place and they are open pollinated fruits. Hybrid tomatoes are the result of 2 different types that are combined. This is done so that the new variety takes on the better aspects of its parent tomato. Where to grow tomatoes? They require lots of sun, at least 6 hours a day. 8 hours is best. If little or no tomatoes grow, it is usually because of lack of enough hours of sun. If a plant produces too many tomatoes, the flavour quality will actually drop. For successful tomatoes, you need to balance light, temperature and moisture. Start seeds early indoors, so not affected by frost. They take about 6 to 8 weeks with good light. Do not place outdoors until day versus night average temperature of between 55 degrees Fahrenheit at night and above 75 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. A lack of light will make a plant tall and thin and will produce little fruit. Keep the seeds moist. The seeds take up to 14 days to germinate, but keep checking from around 8 days onwards and remove any coverings once sprouting. Turn shoots through 180 degrees to ensure they grow evenly. Once they have at least 4 leaves and look too big for where they are, repot to a slightly bigger pot, thinning them out. Do not touch or disturb soil around the roots. Don't be in a rush to plant out. Just keep up potting to bigger pots. When transplanting tomatoes, make sure the soil temperature is between 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit and that the outside temperature is not below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, or else insulate them. Make sure you harden them off before planting outside by leaving them out only during the warmer days and bringing them in the cooler evenings. Never put them in full sun. Start with shady, warm areas. You can protect them once planted out with cloches. Keep well watered and well mulched. Stake them well. Add ladybirds. To ripen green tomatoes, place in a brown paper bag and store in dark cupboard that is fairly warm. Tomato science. To breed tomatoes. Pick 2 varieties that you would like to combine. Focus on the flower part, which consists of 2 various layers: sepals that act as protection for the bud, and the petals, which attract insects to pollinate the plant, the stamens that form pollen, and the stigma that receives the pollen and forms a seed. Cross-pollination by insects happens when stamens fall on the stigma that then produces seeds. So you need to do this. Begin with the first plant by finding a flower bud that is about to open. With small tweezers, open the sepals and remove the petals that will open up the stamens. These need to be removed. In the middle of the stamens you will find the stigma. Now take the stamens from your second different tomato plant. These must come from a flower that is fully open. Take 2 of its stamens and move the tip of your tweezers along the inside. There is a small groove that runs along the stamen here. This should pick up any pollen that sits in the groove. Shake this off over the stigma of the first flower, but do it very gently. Make a note of which flowers you cross-pollinated. This will eventually form a tomato. Once the fruit ripens, harvest its seeds, grow them, and you will have a hybrid tomato that you created. Tomatoes go well with oregano or oregano, balsamic vinegar, chives, capers, chilli, Italian cheese, tarragon, olive oil, thyme, garlic, basil, mushrooms, avocado, and artisan breads. Tomatoes repel asparagus beetles. Cultivation of tomatoes. Indoors, sowing time is early to mid-spring. Sowing inside in modules or pots. Planting time, mid to late spring. Planting and sowing distance, 45 centimetres, which is 18 inches. Harvesting, summer onwards. Outdoors, sowing time, inside first, mid-spring. Planting out time, early summer. Planting distance, cordon, 45 centimetres, 18 inches. Planting distance, bush, 60 centimetres, 24 inches. Distance between sown rows, 75 centimetres, which is 30 inches. And harvesting late summer onwards. Tomatoes are a very close relation to the potato. This is why you should never plant them together. If you want to try your skill at grafting, graft a young tomato plant onto one of the stems of a potato plant. It's actually possible to get potatoes underground and tomatoes growing above. It comes from South America, where it had probably been grown for centuries before it was brought to Europe in the 16th century. And did you know that because they were a form of deadly nightshade plant, they were first treated with suspicion in Europe and were only used as ornamental plants? Storing tomatoes. Tomatoes are best eaten straight from the plants, of course, although they will keep for a few days. They can be frozen, but then only used in cooked dishes as they lose their flavour and firmness. Most problems with tomatoes is normally avoided by having good ventilation. The main cause of when you see cracks in your tomato, this is normally poor ventilation or most likely uneven watering. So don't water a lot one day and then not water for many days. Nice, even watering will stop your tomatoes having cracks or lines. What variety of tomatoes do you grow? Do tell me in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you found this video helpful.